And that was the shadow I had hanging over me the whole last day and a half, and that really sucked. Hey guys, I'm so glad you're back here. Welcome to my living room again. It's time for another Sunday story time. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, and today I'm going to tell you about my worst Disney World vacation ever. Disclaimer, these are totally first world problems that I'm going to be talking about. Well, basically, I mean, nobody died, nobody ended up in the hospital, just a bunch of like little stupid things and some not so little stupid things all happened within the course of this like 1 week vacation that made it, when I look back, made it probably like the worst vacation. But like I said, it's just like equation. This was a lot of this trip is actually documented here on YouTube. It's the Orlando Venture series. So after you talk about a lot of the stuff, well, I didn't talk about some of the stuff that was happening, but some of it you can see in those videos. So go to my, click on my channel, click on my name underneath this video, and then you go to my homepage, and then you can click on playlists, and then there's the Orlando episode 1 to 10 of, you know, Orange is the New Black or whatever. By the way, we're watching that now. That's why just a little tip for you. And here we are off on a tangent. Yeah, I just wanted to say, after you're done watching this, if you go watch the Orlando Venture playlist, then that was this trip that I'm talking about. It all began before we actually left, or the reason that we went on this trip at this time was because I had been offered a new job, a new like real life job. You know, I don't do YouTube as a full-time job. I would love to, but I need a little bit more to happen at YouTube for it to become a full-time job. Let's say I don't like to talk about my real life job here, and there's a reason for that. Yeah, it was a really great opportunity and something the kind of job that I had been looking forward to for a really long time. And I had been offered the contract like beginning of December, I want to say. And a vacation together, then we need to do it really soon, because as soon as I start this new job, so about the middle of December, we planned this trip to Disney, or to Orlando, over Marcus's birthday, the end of January. And of course, that's not a lot of time in advance. And so it was really expensive. When we started looking at flights and hotels, we were like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be like a really expensive trip. But I was like, hey, I'm gonna be starting a new job, I'm gonna be making more money, and let's just go for it. And we probably won't be able to take another trip until end of the summer anyway, so doesn't matter. So we booked this expensive Florida trip kind of at the last minute. I think we booked it like 4.5 weeks in advance or something like that. Then after we booked it, I hadn't signed my contract yet at the new job. I had simply been made the offer, and I knew that I wanted to do it, and I knew it was gonna happen. So I was still in negotiations with the new job, and we came to an agreement, and yeah, and then I'm trying to be as vague as possible. Let's put it this way. There was some problems with the conditions, and also led to some insecurity if I was really going to start the new job or not. And I was supposed to start the beginning of February, if I have it in my head right. So we were going like the last 2 weeks of January. That was like where the trip was. And then I was supposed to start immediately in February. And I had already put notice in at the job I had at the time and told them I'm only available till then, and then I have to take on this new commitment. And they were really cool with it. And I was really actually sad on my last day. I bawled at work. I was like, I'm gonna miss it here. And anyways, so fast forward, we leave on the trip and fly to Orlando, and we started with 2 days at Universal Studios, and it was when we were staying in the brand new, to have a nice dinner, I can do my hotel room tour, get that all done on the first night, and then we'll have the whole next day to like do the parks. But unfortunately, our flight was delayed, and so we didn't end up getting to Orlando until like shortly before midnight, I want to say, or we ended up at the in bed. This is how I remember it. Maybe I should go back and watch the playlist too to make sure I got it right. So I woke up, grabbed my phone because I wanted to make a vlog, and I saw that I had a message from the general manager of voicemail. So I picked up the voicemail, and on the first day of the vacation that we were taking, because I knew I was going to be starting a new job and spent a lot of money to take it at this time, like last minute. And the voicemail was him saying, sorry, we're having problems, and I have to, what did he say? I can't offer you the contract at this time. When you get back, give me a call and I'll talk about what's going on. So basically, I didn't have the job. And I had already quit my other job. And so there we were, first day of vacation, like I said, spent a lot of money, and I didn't have a job when I was getting back. And I was like, great. So immediately I called my my supervisor or my manager at the job that I had just given my notice in to tell them, listen, something's going on with this new job, and apparently I don't have the job yet. And so when I come back, I'm still going to have some availability, and if you can, put me on the schedule, I'm more than willing to stay. And that was one thing that worked out actually really well in this whole thing, is that they were like, oh, that's great news. We could really use you. Just let us know how, where we can put you in, and we'll make it work out. And so that was actually one good thing, is that I ended up not going back to not having a job, but it seemed like it was going to be like that, at least on the first morning. All right, so first morning, found out, didn't have a job, or lost the job that I thought I was going to have. Then we went into the parks, had a great day at the parks, and I think actually we only spent one day at the parks. I feel left Universal and we're checking into the Port Orleans birthday. So we left Universal, I want to say at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock maybe. And I was thinking, all right, we'll take around 9, and then we'll have a late dinner, maybe at like 9:30. At least, like that time frame. Getting to Port Orleans was fine. Went in, and this was the first time we were there where they had the magic bands, and the magic bands were relatively new as well. And what happened next was, it took them forever to activate our magic bands. The check-in process took over an hour. Over an hour to check into a hotel. And they couldn't even tell us what the problem was. They just kept, like, one person was typing and typing and typing and pointing at the screen, and our energy and our smile was like going, because meanwhile, it's like 10 o'clock. We haven't had dinner yet. It's Marcus's birthday, and we're spending like an hour standing at the counter in the lobby of the Port Orleans. We ended up, oh, well, no, wait, before I even say that. So then they said, add you to a pool view room. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Thank you. And I know you've seen, or if you've seen the video, you know that the pool view room was not a view. Entire view was blocked by the back of a staircase. And not only that, it was a accessible room. So it was a sliding bathroom door, and of their t-shirts, and then those little plastic things were all over the carpet. Whoever was in that room before the carpet, it obviously hadn't been vacuumed, or not vacuumed thoroughly. And a job thing, like I was like, all right, it sucks. Maybe the new job will still work out. I don't know about it now, but at least I've got these, this next week to just sort of have some fun. I'm here now, and it's going to be a great time. And then that happened. Not being able to, you know, go out for a nice meal with Marcus on his birthday and then getting this room with a view of the back of the stairs and it being dirty. That was the second night. I need a glass, gets all dried out. Look, here's my Rolling Stones merchandise from the concert last weekend. All right, so that was the second night. And the next morning I got up early and went to, I was so frustrated. I just got up the next morning and I told them, listen, this is not cool. We've been to Disney several times and I know that this isn't the level of service I know that if I spend the next week in this room, I'm going to be disappointed when we leave. And so if there's any way we could back and forth again, and she called somebody and had to wait for an answer, and the next one available, and she said, this is what we can do. We bring it here to the lobby and we'll put it in, you know, baggage storage, and then you can go out and enjoy your day, and when you come back tonight, we'll have a new room for you waiting. And so that was nice. And I think then when I got back to the room and told Marcus, because I think I left the room before Marcus had even gotten up, and I didn't tell him that I was going to. And then actually, they got a new room even before we left the room. So they called us and they said, listen, it worked out. This is your new room. It's whatever number, 1705, and it's in a different building complex. So take all your stuff now and just go to that room, and your Magic Band should check you in. That you take everything out when you leave, because the moment the door closes behind you in the room you have now, your Magic Band won't open it anymore. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. And I didn't realize it until no, I realized it then when we got to the new room. All right, so here's another positive, actually, even though it was disappointing the night before. Our new room was one of the preferred rooms with the corner with the windows on both sides. So that was a bonus. And actually, those rooms usually cost more. So that was something. And I hope that they realize that I never try to critique people in service positions personally. I tried when I know that you're doing everything you can do, but it's not, let's look at the possibilities and find the one that will make me feel better. And what will make me feel better is getting a new room. And that must be possible. And it was. All right, so got to the new room. Magic Band opened the door right up like they said it would, and we were like, oh, this room is so much nicer. And if you see the room tour, there's a room tour of both rooms in that playlist. You'll see it was nice. And then I realized that I forgot my jacket in the other room, so I called them and I was like, sorry, I forgot something in the room, and I'm very embarrassed about it. If I come to the lobby now, can I like get a card to go back and open it? And they, that was another thing. They were also very nice, and they said, no, you know what, Mr. O'Brien, don't worry. The reason that I got that upgrade and the reason that I had to move rooms, if they had been doing a great job, none of that would have happened in the first place. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I want to say, good job, they took some. So, what was the next thing that put me in a bad mood? There's 3 more things I can think of. One of them is actually at Six Flags in Chicago. So, if you've seen those videos, he was a technician or a sound technician or a lighting technician. Sorry, I don't remember. The summer that I worked at Six Flags in Chicago, and now he works for Disney, and he had some free passes to go to Blizzard Beach, or Typhoon Lagoon? Typhoon Lagoon. And Marcus had never been to Typhoon Lagoon, and I hadn't been there in like 20 years, and we were really excited to go. But the weather wasn't really warm enough, and there was only one day in the weather and sunny enough that it'll make any kind of sense to go to a water park. So we scheduled everything around that day. all the other parks we wanted to visit and all our restaurant reservations were sort of scheduled around that we would go to Typhoon Laguna that day. So we got up that morning, put on our swimsuits, got everything ready to go to Typhoon Lagoon, and then we got in the bus, and I think we had to transfer someplace. Like, there were no buses going to Typhoon Lagoon, and so after like 2 or 3 came, we asked the bus driver of whatever bus was, how do we get to Typhoon Lagoon? There's no buses coming. And he's like, I think you need to get, he's like, get in this bus a little bit longer to get there than we planned. And then we got there, and I was like, wow, this is, there's, you know, there were no cars in the parking lot, and I thought, this is gonna be a great day. It's gonna be totally not crowded, of course, because it was not warm. And went up to the gate, and I said, neither of us are the cast member. And she said, well, with these tickets, you can only get in if the cast member is with you. I can't just let you in unless he's here to like verify them. And I was like, oh, well, he's not here and I can't get in touch with him. And she's like, well, then I'm very sorry, but I can't let you inside. And we went over to like the main, you know, like the, I don't know, guest relations or whatever, and I showed them and I said, you know, I was just talking to him 2 days ago and he said that these tickets will get us in. And she said, yeah, they are valid tickets, but I can only, they can only be like authorized with the cast member present. That's the way the system works. But I can give you, you know, a day ticket would cost, I don't know, it was like 60, 65 or something like that. And like I said, because we had already spent so much money on this trip, and because, you know, this up and down with my job back home, we just decided, no, we're gonna save that money to go in there and then be freezing the whole time. We'll do it another time. So that was disappointing. And then we thought, all right, well, the quickest thing to do now would just be to go directly to, what were we gonna do? Epcot, because we were meeting a girlfriend of mine who I went to college with, who now lives in Florida. We were meeting them after lunch, like around, and then we'll have lunch, and then Heather will be there in the afternoon. But there were no buses going from Typhoon Lagoon to Epcot. So we thought, well, let's take the bus from here to, that time it was still called Downtown Disney, and then we can get the bus from Downtown Disney to Epcot. So, waited for the bus, got in the bus to Downtown Disney, got out of the bus at Downtown Disney, and realized that since the last, and so we were like, okay, then let's go back to the hotel. And we waited and waited for the bus back to the hotel, and then we got in the bus back to the hotel, and then we were stuck behind a group of, and then like, by that time, like 2.5 hours maybe had gone by where we had done nothing to Epcot that didn't come, getting in the bus back to our hotel, and then getting stuck behind these cyclists. Then we found out that the bus we were in wasn't going to stop at Disney's Port Orleans Riverside. It was only stopping at French Quarter. So, and like I said, these are just, you know, like small things. And when I talk about it now, it seems so petty, but it was just, you know what I mean? Like, you wake up in the morning or you plan a vacation and you expect this and this and this to happen, and then when things happen that like work again, I definitely let a lot of these things ruin my day, at least for a couple hours. But if you watch that video, you'll see that I tried to turn it around and I, you know, used the nice walk, and then we decided to spend the afternoon at the pool at Port Orleans. And we had a nice, you know, like hour at the pool, and then we ended up, or something like that, and we ended up, they were strong. These were strong drinks, and I was really happy about it. And so we went back and we're kind of like sipping, and we went to the bus stop, and the bus came to go to Epcot, and the bus driver was like, oh, sorry, I can't let you in the bus with those. And so Marcus and I both slammed half of a really strong mojito before going to Epcot. And of course that helped me feel really good for a while, but then hangover, headache. because I probably hadn't had anything else to drink that day other than the light pole structures in Epcot, and I just had like my head in my hands and aspirin, and I'll see how long it takes me to feel better. So, I mean, crappy, and yeah. So that was that day, and then spending like a half a day at Epcot, maybe, before I felt so, and her daughters, and I'm very grateful for that, but most of the day just seemed vacation because I was really in a bad mood. Then, on our second to last day, we had up so early to get to the airport, and then the last day is just stressful and dumb, and this day we could, going well now, we still have another day and a half, and I am just gonna have a good time and not let these stupid little things bother me anymore. Like I finally found a way to flip an invitation to check in for our flights the next day. So I started the check-in process, and when I tried to check myself in, I got this warning that I needed to check my passport because it looked like I wasn't gonna be able to fly back. And I basically spent the last day and a half at Disney worried that I was going to fly to Paris and then be told that they couldn't let me into Europe and I had to take the next flight. And then, you know, what would I have done? I probably would have flown up to Minnesota and spent, you know, the time with all these scenarios were going through my head the whole last day and a half, and extended is from the embassy in Germany because I'm a resident of Hamburg. And so here's my card, and I'll get it taken care of as soon as I can, but the border control in the airport, that I was like, oh, good, this finally worked out. String of unlucky events, and I can tell you something that I learned from the whole thing, and it's something that I try to remind myself, and I try to remind people who write to me to, you know, to help me, or for me to help them plan things, and that is, be careful that you don't set your expectations too high and you know, wait for things to like, you know, like set up like all these things and imagine that that's exactly how it's gonna be, because I had, you know, like such my sights set on getting checked in early and then going out for a nice dinner with Marcus, and going to Typhoon Lagoon and making a fun video about it for you to get to that place to just be like, ah, screw it, we'll have a good time anyways. You know what I mean? All right, really grateful and sometimes shocked that there's enough of you out there who like to sit down and of the Rolling Stones tour. And it's also the name of a tour of Hannah Hart Nonchalant. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides, and my next video will be